All right, today I'm sharing a video about my 2019 Dodge Charger HELLCAT Engine Bay, and I've put a lot of time, effort into this. I usually just take it to car shows, but now I'm going to share it with everybody on YouTube also. And what I've noticed is out there on YouTube, a lot of people don't really share a lot of their, maybe some pictures or basic footage, but not really share the ins and outs of what they've done to their engine bay. And I think it's such an important, crucial area that doesn't really get focused on enough. At least I don't think. I'd like to see more of it out there. So that's really the reason why I'm doing it here today. Maybe to get some input from everybody else in this community. So if you have any questions, comments, or please, ask questions. If you just want to leave a hello, nice engine, or you can say, hey, I hate it. I don't like shiny stuff. That's fine too, because not everybody's a shiny kind of person. Without further ado, let's go over some stuff. All right, so we've taken a lot of first place trophies with this car. Last March, the Chicago World of Wheels, we were there with this, and I got first place in best in class, and got best in street category engine bay. So that was a big step for this car. I've been working on it for 5 years, and over time it's come a long way. Little things here and there at time kind of adds up, but for the most part this is mostly done. Of course, I've been saying that for a while, but I just keep finding things to do. So let's give a rundown. First of all, I wanted to match the color of the car with the B5 blue, and then do a silver, and then the polished chrome. So actually the only thing in here that's chrome is the B Woody intake, which I had that chromed, and the hood latch up here. Everything else is stainless steel or polished aluminum, so you don't have anything kind of retaining heat, anything like that. So you probably recognize first is the hood cutout. So that I've had in there for a year now with no issues. I had to cut through this insulation panel. Took out the factory black one. Of course, if you're cutting a hole in the hood, you have to get rid of the insulation in it. Most people just take out the whole insulation and don't have anything except the hood. I had this mirror in here before I cut the hood out, and I wanted to keep that. So in order to do that, I had to also cut the layers of metal out from the insulation itself. They recommend that 20 and 18 and older can only have this type of mirror in here, because this comes from American Carcraft, and they say it doesn't fit because the vacuum here for the the crankcase ventilation would actually get in the way a little bit, so it didn't quite fit. So I actually had to kind of just sand this down a little bit right here to make it fit, and it kind of caused a little bit of a dent right here over time, just from driving and maybe just a little bit of vibration. But for the most part it will fit, even though it says it's not compatible with 2019 and up. And then this hole over here that I had cut, I ended up having to cut that later because I bought the intercooler reservoir from Moroso, and it sits up taller than the factory one. And who knew that was going to be taller until you actually get it. Of course, they don't tell you about clearance issues because most people don't have this insulation in here. So that kind of covers the hood part. Moving on down, Family Customs, I think they're out of California, maybe Nevada. I got the aluminum back here on the rain drip area back there. It came raw, so I had to sand it all down and polish it up. So that's kind of like, I know it's kind of overkill, shiny overkill a lot. It didn't start off that way. I just started with the supercharger originally, and then chromed the intake, did the snout, all that kind of stuff was together. The other stuff kind of came later. And it came later because when you're at car shows and you do this stuff a lot, you want to stand out. And if you're around other maybe Dodge Charger guys or Hellcat guys, you're already going to stand out based on your method, your preference of style. My style is, well, I'm kind of old school, so I like shiny, polished things, where a lot of guys, the newer guys, like painted things. So everybody's different. This is what I like. So I paint color matched the Speed Logics. I made this strut bar, so I had that done. That's probably been in there for about 3 or 4 years to match the rest of the body. I kind of wanted it to look factory, as it would have come from the factory that way. Street Logics didn't make it in B5 blue, so I had to paint it myself. But it came out pretty good. I did actually have the fuel rail covers. That's the actual first mod I had on the whole car, was getting those fuel rail covers, and they still look really good. RPI Designs, I think, out of Salem, Ohio, did those for me. They did a tremendous job. So if I were to do those, it wouldn't have come out nearly as good. But those still look really good. As far as other things that I've polished, we've done the thermostat housing, the water pump, which you don't really notice it too much. I guess you'll see the water pump as a piece here. The whole water pump was done. I mean, you can kind of look down in there. The tensioner I polished. Did the bypass valve. What the hell? What do I always forget what this is called? Help me with this. What are you? The snout, the supercharger, the charger lid, and the base. Everything has been polished. Done the intercooler lines here. Like I said, the Moroso tanks came in. They kind of come in brushed, but I sanded and polished those. You look at the ABS cover and the fuse box cover. Those are polished, coming from Billet Technologies, but if you order anything from them, be prepared to wait months and months. I think I ordered those last May of last year, and they came in October or maybe November last year. So yeah, I've had those on there for a year. And same goes with this little guy, the wiper fluid lid. That came from them also. It didn't take nearly as long. I do have a dipstick coming from them. I just painted B5 blue, the factory one here. But I did order the dipstick from them. I'm still waiting on that after a couple months. So, and then of course power steering cap there, Metco breather. Got some caps on the AC lines. Those are also from, I think those are from American Brothers actually. And then Metco pulleys. So I got one pulley here, and then there's actually 2 more below that you really can't see, but those were $450. But I figure they probably operate better than factory anyway. Of course, the Speed Logics canister here, and I polished it better than what they get sent to you. Actually, it needs a little bit of polish again. It's starting to get a little milky white there. It needs to be re-cleaned. In this lighting, got the bypass valve cover. I think I got this the same time as I got those, if I'm not mistaken. But mostly, everything's been polished. When you look at the front here, the radiator cover, I guess they call it, even though it doesn't necessarily, it's more like a bumper cover. But carbon fiber, that's from Family Customs also. So, and I haven't seen anybody else do this, but I did change out a lot of the lines here, like this vacuum line with stainless plumbing there. Over on the intercooler, and a little bit more stainless braided lines there. Got some hardware throughout, as far as nuts and bolts, that kind of thing. If you look at these stainless with aluminum washers, all that stuff's aftermarket. I also changed out the clamps, a lot of the clamps, which I could change out with stainless clamps and polish those, because from the factory they have this ugly, well, here's some that are still factory back here. Look at how beautiful those things are, right? Those suck. So replacing them with these kind of clamps, you can find them on like Amazon, and then you just polish those up. Yeah, there's another clamp. Anyhow, yeah, just every little detail like that to make it look better is always a good thing. As far as the supercharger, I went with Titanium Works. Titanium Works makes these really beautiful supercharger bolts all the way around, and that was a good purchase. I think they were about $500 for those. But when they send those, they also send some of these are titanium. There's one here on the back, and then also titanium. They also send it with this set, the titanium for the strut braces there on both sides, and I really like that. That's a nice touch. So those are nice. Excuse me. As well as I painted these shocks. You can get aftermarket aluminum ones from like American Brothers or some other places, but I just don't like the way they look. I think this factory look and just painted to match is my preference, but some more aftermarket bolts. So yeah, what else we got going on here? I do have some lights that I put in under my fuel rail covers. So I got a switch that I hid under here, which is right here. And so I could turn it on, and it kind of shows the, this a little ambient lighting underneath there. And when I close the hood at night, you can kind of see some light coming out of the hood, so that's kind of cool. I do like that. And I did forget to mention that I have a Rippertune lower pulley. That's the only thing that I've had done to the internal of this engine as far as like increasing the power. Or I shouldn't say internal, it's more external, but nothing internal has even been done. So this is pretty much a stock 6.2 with that extra pulley. So did have a little extra power there, but I wanted to keep it streetable. I'd like to be able to get 150,000 miles out of this thing if I need to. But for the most part, 700 plus horsepower for daily. This isn't a daily driver by any means, but when you look at it, you're going 70 miles an hour down the road, and you punch the gas, and especially in colder weather, it's got a lot of power. So I'm always having fun in this thing. If you have any questions about anything, please feel free to ask. I do want to say something else. If anybody is ever interested in polishing their supercharger, well, I'm actually doing another one. I might put it on my wife's car. I'm not sure, but I've got another one I'm working on over there. I may sell it or maybe put it on my wife's HELLCAT. But this took me, I clocked it, the supercharger lid, the bypass valve, and the throttle body. Oh, I remembered the name. The throttle body took me 240 hours between cleaning all the paint off, sanding it, and polishing it. 240 hours. So it is a heck of a commitment. I did it in a January 3 years ago. My wife had COVID at the time, and she was in bed. I was in my basement a lot, and then going back and forth and checking on her. I was polishing this thing up on my ping pong table in my basement. So yeah, it took me that long. And since then, of course, I took off later. I think last winter, I had made a commitment to take off the water pump, the tensioner, and I polished the power steering pump too. And I know you can't hardly see it because it's underneath the intake. You can see it from a couple different angles maybe, but for the most part, you can't even see it but I just did it for what the heck, what kind of fun. And while I had it off, I painted the power steering pump itself black, because that factory like white color or clear plastic just looks god awful in the engine bay. They shouldn't have even made it like that. So yeah, if you're going to consider polishing anything, be prepared to wait. Or if you have the money, buy the parts, polish it, and then just replace it later. I am going to offer service of, if you want to send me your parts, I can polish it and send it back, or replace it. If I have like the supercharger lid, I can send it to you, and you could just replace it with yours and send me back the core, and that way I have another one to polish for the next person. I do offer that too. So I do this as a hobby, not for a living, but if anybody, I do work on other people's cars. So if you ever need anything like that, hit me up.